The explosions shook the ground beneath Tay's boots. He pressed his back against the broken wall, breathing hard through his helmet. Dust and smoke filled the air around him. The sounds of gunfire echoed through the crystal canyons of Epsilon 7, a moon that had become a graveyard for too many soldiers. "Fall back. Everyone fall back!" Day's voice crackled through the radio. "The bombardment is coming in hot." Tay looked at his squad. 5 soldiers, all exhausted, all scared. They had been fighting the Valorians for 3 years now. 3 long years of blood and death. Tay was a combat medic, trained to save lives, but on this battlefield, death came faster than he could ever heal. He started to move with his squad when he heard it, a sound that made his blood run cold. A child's scream. Tay stopped. He turned his head toward the burning building across the canyon. Through the smoke, he could see a small figure trapped inside. The structure was collapsing, flames eating through the walls. Radiation warnings flashed on his helmet display. The building would explode any second. "Tay, move," Day shouted, but Tay was already running. His legs carried him toward the fire before his mind could stop him. He heard Day yelling behind him, ordering him to return. Tay didn't listen. He couldn't. His brother Jin's face flashed in his mind. Jin, who died 2 years ago in a Valorian ambush. Jin, who always said that good people do the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. Tay reached the building. The heat hit him like a wall. His suit's cooling system screamed warnings. He ignored them all. Inside, through the flames and falling debris, he saw her. A Valorian child. She was small, maybe 6 years old in human terms. Her skin was covered in iridescent scales that shimmered even through the dirt and blood. Her violet eyes were wide with terror. She was pinned under a fallen beam, crying in a language Tay didn't understand. For a moment, Tay froze. This was the enemy. The Valorians had killed thousands of humans. They had killed Jin. Every instinct told him to turn around and leave, but she was a child. Just a child. Tay rushed forward. He grabbed the beam and pulled with all his strength. His muscles burned. The beam was too heavy, reinforced with Valorian metal. He adjusted his position and tried again. The building groaned around him. More debris fell from above. "Come on," Tay shouted, not sure if he was talking to himself or the child. The beam shifted. The child's eyes met his. Despite everything, despite the war and the hate, Tay saw only fear in those alien eyes. The same fear he had seen in human children when bombs fell on their homes. With one final pull, the beam moved enough for the child to crawl free. She was injured. Her leg twisted at a wrong angle. Tay scooped her into his arms. She was lighter than a human child, her bones delicate like a bird's. The building shuddered violently. Tay turned and ran for the exit. Behind him, he heard the power core beginning to overload. The radiation levels spiked. His suit's shields wouldn't hold for long. 10 meters to the door. Then 5. The explosion threw them both into the air. Tay twisted his body, shielding the child with his own. They hit the ground hard. Pain exploded through Tay's chest. He couldn't breathe. His suit was breached, radiation pouring in. Burns covered his arms and back. The child was crying over him. Her small hands touched his face. Tay tried to tell her it was okay, but no words came out. Blood filled his mouth. Through his failing vision, Tay saw a figure running toward them, a tall Valorian female in commander's armor. Her scales were deep crimson, marked with battle scars. Her face was a mask of fury and fear. She reached them and grabbed the child, checking her for injuries. Then her eyes fell on Tay. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Human and Valorian. Enemy and enemy. But something changed in her expression. The fury melted into something else. Something Tay couldn't name. She barked orders in her language. Other Valorian soldiers surrounded them. Tay felt hands lifting him. His squad was gone, retreated as ordered. He was alone among aliens. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the child's face. She was crying, reaching for him, screaming something in her language. The commander held her back, her eyes never leaving Tay's face. Then nothing. Tay woke slowly. His body felt like it was on fire. Every breath hurt. He tried to move and found he couldn't. Restraints held him to a medical bed. Panic surged through him. Where was he? What happened? The room was unfamiliar. The walls were a smooth purple metal, glowing with soft light. Medical equipment surrounded him, but it was all alien technology. Valorian technology. He was a prisoner. The door opened. The tall Valorian commander entered. Up close, she was even more intimidating. She stood at least 7 feet tall, her armor replaced by formal robes. But her eyes held that same unreadable expression from before. She spoke, and to Tay's surprise, he understood her. A translator device, he realized, attached somewhere to his bed. "You are awake, human," she said. Her voice was deep and resonant. "I am Commander Valora. You saved my daughter." Tay's throat was dry. He tried to speak but only managed a rough whisper. "Water." Valora pressed a button. A tube extended to Tay's lips. The water was strange, slightly sweet, but it helped. He swallowed and found his voice. "The child," he said. "Is she okay?" Valora's expression shifted. Something like surprise crossed her features. "You ask about her? After what you suffered?" "I'm a medic," Tay said. "It's what I do." "She lives," Valora said. "Because of you. Her name is Kiri. She is my only daughter. My only family." Tay nodded. The movement made his head spin. "Good, that's good." "You are a prisoner of war," Valora continued. "But you are also something more now. Something sacred to my people. You saved a child from certain death. Do you understand what this means?" Tay had no idea what she was talking about. He was too tired, too hurt. "I just did what was right." Valora moved closer to his bed. She looked down at him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Among my people, this creates a bond, a debt that can never be repaid. You belong to my family now, human. You are Kethva. You are claimed." Tay's eyes widened. "What? No, I'm a soldier. I want to go back to my unit." "That is not possible," Valora said simply. "Not anymore. By our oldest laws, you are bound to my bloodline. To my daughter, to me. This bond is sacred. It cannot be broken." "I don't accept that," Tay said, anger rising through his pain. "I saved her because she was a child, not to become your prisoner or property." Valora's eyes flashed. "You understand nothing of our ways. This is the highest honor. You insult me and my daughter by refusing." "I don't care about your honor," Tay said. "Send me back." Valora was silent for a long moment. Then she turned toward the door. Before leaving, she looked back at him. "Rest, human. Heal. We will speak again when you are stronger. But know this, you saved my daughter's life. I will not let you die. I will not let you go. You are mine now. Forever." The door closed behind her, leaving Tay alone with his pain and growing dread. 3 days passed before Tay could sit up without screaming. The Valorian doctors had done remarkable work. His burns were healing faster than human medicine could manage. The radiation poisoning was being flushed from his system. His broken ribs were mending. But nothing could heal the confusion and anger in his heart. He was on a Valorian warship called the Crimson Talon. His room was part prison cell, part hospital suite. Guards stood outside his door at all times. He had tried to escape once and barely made it 10 feet before collapsing. His body was still too weak. The door opened. A young Valorian entered, carrying medical equipment. She was smaller than most Valorians, her scales a soft blue color. She moved with careful efficiency, checking his vital signs. "Good morning," she said in perfect human language. "I am Hana. I will be your primary doctor." Tay stared at her. "You speak my language." "I studied on a neutral station for 2 years," Hana explained. "Before the war got worse. I learned many human things. Medicine, culture, even your food." She smiled. "Though I never developed a taste for pizza." Despite everything, Tay almost smiled. "You're the first Valorian who's talked to me like a person." "You are a person," Hana said simply. "The war makes us forget that about each other. But I have not forgotten." She finished her examination and sat down across from him. "Commander Valora will visit today. She wants to explain the Kethva bond to you. I thought I should prepare you first." "I don't want to hear about this bond," Tay said. "I want to go home." Hana's expression grew serious. "I understand. But you must listen. This is not like human prisoner exchange. This is deeper, sacred. If you refuse the bond without understanding it, Valora will have no choice but to challenge you to ritual combat." "She wants to kill me?" Tay asked, shocked. "No," Hana said. "She wants to honor you. But if you insult the bond, our laws demand satisfaction. And you are in no condition to fight a Valorian commander." She leaned forward. "Please, Tay, just listen to what she has to say, for your own safety." Before Tay could respond, Valora entered. She wore formal robes again, deep red with silver markings. She dismissed Hana with a nod and stood before Tay. "You look better," she said. "Thanks to your doctors," Tay admitted. "I'd be dead if you left me on that battlefield." "Yes," Valora said. You would be. Just as my daughter would be dead if you had not acted. She sat down, her massive frame somehow graceful. I need you to understand something. The HFY is not ownership. It is not slavery. Then what is it? Tay asked. It is family, Valora said. When you saved Kiri, you became bound to her spirit, to my bloodline. In our culture, this makes you part of my family unit. You have responsibilities to us, yes, but we also have responsibilities to you. We must protect you, honor you, care for you. Forever. Tay shook his head. I have a family. On Earth, parents, friends. I don't need another family, especially not with aliens who are trying to kill my people. Pain flashed across Valora's face. Do you think I wanted this war? Do you think any of us did? She stood and walked to the window. Below, Epsilon 7 rotated slowly, scarred by battles. I lost my mate 5 years ago. Kiri's father. He died protecting a human colony from pirates. Tay went still. What? Before the war, Valora continued, there was cooperation, trade, even friendship. My mate believed in peace between our species. He died saving human children from raiders. She turned back to Tay. Your governments never told you that, did they? Just like my government never told us about the humans who helped Valorian refugees. Why are we fighting then? Tay asked quietly. Because someone profits from it, Valora said. Weapons manufacturers. Politicians who gain power from fear. I have suspected this for years, but I am a soldier. I follow orders. She moved closer to Tay. Until now. Until you reminded me what honor truly means. Before Tay could respond, the door burst open. Kiri ran inside, followed by a frustrated-looking guard. The child stopped when she saw Tay awake and alert. Her violet eyes went wide. Protector Tay, she cried in a child's voice translated by the room's system. She rushed to his bedside. Valora started to stop her, but Tay held up a hand. Kiri climbed carefully onto the bed, mindful of his injuries. She held out a drawing. I made this for you, she said. The drawing showed 2 figures. One was clearly Tay in his armor, larger than life. The other was Kiri, holding his hand. Above them, a bright sun shone. Around them, flowers grew. It was a child's simple vision of hope. Something cracked in Tay's chest. He took the drawing with shaking hands. Thank you, Kiri. She smiled, showing small, sharp teeth. Then she hugged him, carefully avoiding his bandaged areas. Tay froze. This was the enemy's child. He should push her away. But he couldn't. She was just a little girl who had been terrified and hurt, and he had saved her, just like Jin would have. Valora gently pulled Kiri back. Let him rest, my star. Kiri nodded but didn't want to leave. Will you stay? Will you be my protector? Tay looked at this alien child, then at her mother who watched him with guarded hope. He thought about the war, about Jin, about everything he believed. And he thought about what Jin would do. I need time, Tay said finally. Time to understand. Can you give me that? Valora nodded. 1 lunar cycle. 28 days. Stay with us. Learn our ways. Then choose. If you still wish to return to your people, I will find a way. But you must give us this chance. It wasn't a real choice. Tay knew that. But it was better than the alternative. Okay, 28 days. Over the following weeks, Tay's body healed and his understanding grew. Hana visited daily, teaching him about Valorian culture. The HFY bond was ancient, dating back thousands of years. It was considered sacred because Valorians valued children above all else. Their birth rate was low, making every child precious. Tay watched the Valorians live their lives. He saw their family bonds stronger than anything he had known. He saw their honor codes, strict but fair. He saw their grief for fallen comrades, identical to human sorrow. Kiri visited every day. She brought drawings, stories, small gifts. She talked about her father, who she barely remembered. She asked Tay about Earth, about humans, about everything. And slowly, despite himself, Tay grew attached to her. Valora was different. She kept distance but watched him constantly. When pirates attacked the ship on day 15, Tay found himself in the medical bay defending wounded soldiers alongside Valora. They fought without words, moving in sync, protecting the helpless. Afterward, covered in blood and breathing hard, Valora looked at him with new respect. You fight well for a medic. You protect well for a commander, Tay replied. Something shifted between them that day, a fragile understanding. On day 20, Tay received a coded message. His old unit had located him. They were planning a rescue operation. It would happen in 3 days. All he had to do was be ready. Tay stared at the message for hours. He could go home, see his parents, his friends, return to his old life. All he had to do was abandon a little girl who called him her protector, and a culture that had honored him in their own way. He thought about Jin, about what his brother would do. On day 23, human forces breached the Crimson Talon's defenses. Tay was in his room when the alarms went off. He could hear gunfire in the corridors. His rescue team was here. The door to his room exploded inward. A human soldier stood there, weapon ready. It was Sung, his old commander. Tay, thank God. Let's go. But Tay didn't move. Where's Kiri? Where's the medical bay? Sung's face hardened. What are you talking about? We're getting you out. Not until I know the children are safe, Tay said. The medical bay has 20 kids in it. If fighting reaches them, they're aliens, Tay. The enemy. They're children, Tay shouted. An explosion rocked the ship. Sung grabbed Tay's arm. We don't have time for this. Tay pulled free and ran. Not toward the escape pods. Toward the medical bay. Toward Kiri. Behind him, he heard Sung cursing and following. The medical bay was chaos. Hana was trying to evacuate children while fighting raged outside. Kiri saw Tay and ran to him, crying. I'm scared. Tay picked her up. He looked at Sung, at his old life. Then at Kiri, at Hana, at the Valorian children who might die because of a rescue meant to save him. Call it off, Tay said. Call off the attack. Are you insane? Sung demanded. I'm not leaving, Tay said. Tell Earth Command. I'm staying here. By choice. Sung's eyes widened. They'll call you a traitor. I know, Tay said. Do it anyway. Sung stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded and spoke into his comm. The fighting stopped. The human forces withdrew. When Valora found Tay later, still holding Kiri, she understood without words what he had done, what he had chosen. The HFY? She asked. The HFY, Tay confirmed. The news of Tay's choice spread like fire through both human and Valorian forces. Earth Command declared him a deserter within hours. His face appeared on every human news channel, labeled a traitor to his species. Messages from his parents were blocked. His friends were forbidden to contact him. Officially, Tay no longer existed to humanity. But on the Crimson Talon, something else was happening. Valora called a formal gathering of her crew. Tay stood before 300 Valorian warriors, feeling small and human and terribly alone. Valora stood beside him in full ceremonial armor. This human saved my daughter, Valora announced to her crew. He saved her when it meant his own death. He chose to stay with us when he could have returned to his people. By our ancient laws, I claim him as HFY. He is bound to my blood. He is family. The crew was silent. Then one by one, they placed their fists over their hearts. A Valorian salute of respect. Tay felt his throat tighten. These were the enemy, but they honored him like one of their own. That night, Valora performed the claiming ceremony in private. Only Hana, Kiri, and 2 witnesses were present. Valora marked Tay's forearm with a blue dye that bonded to his skin, creating an intricate pattern. The mark of the HFY. This will never fade, Valora said as she worked. It tells every Valorian that you are protected, that you belong to my family, that to harm you is to harm me. Tay watched the mark take shape. It was beautiful, like water flowing into geometric patterns. What does it mean? The design? It is my family symbol, Valora explained. The waves of our home ocean, combined with your name in our language. She finished and stepped back. It is done. You are my daughter's bonded guardian. You are my family's protector and protected. Kiri hugged Tay's legs, careful of his still healing injuries. Now you'll never leave? Tay looked down at her and smiled sadly. No, I won't. But being part of a Valorian family meant learning their ways. Hana became Tay's teacher. She taught him the language, though his human throat struggled with some sounds. She taught him their customs, their history, their beliefs. Valorians are not so different from humans, Hana explained one day in the ship's library. We love our children. We grieve our dead. We hope for peace. But we express these things differently. How did the war start? Tay asked. Really start? Hana hesitated. Then she pulled up secure files on her datapad. I have been researching this. With my clearance, I can access old records. Look, the files showed early contact between humans and Valorians, trade agreements, scientific cooperation, even interspecies friendships. Then 5 years ago, a human colony was attacked. Valorian weapons were found at the scene. Days later, A Valorian outpost was destroyed with human explosives. Both sides blamed each other, Hana said. But look at this. She showed him shipping records. A corporation called Universal Arms sold weapons to both sides. They profited from the attacks. They wanted war. Tay felt sick. Weapons manufacturers started the war. I cannot prove it, Hana admitted. But the evidence suggests it. Someone wanted humans and Valorians to fight, and we both fell for it. That night, Tay couldn't sleep. He thought about Jin dying in an ambush, about all the soldiers on both sides dying for corporate profits, about the families destroyed for money. The anger in his chest felt like it would burn him alive. He found Valora in her private quarters reviewing battle reports. She looked up as he entered. I know why the war started, Tay said. He told her everything Hana had found. Valora listened without interruption, her face growing darker with each word. When he finished, she was silent for a long time. I suspected, she finally said. But I had no proof. I'm a soldier, Tay. I follow orders. But if what you say is true... She stood and walked to her window. My mate died in a pirate attack. But what if those pirates were hired? What if his death was meant to happen? We need to expose this, Tay said. Both our peoples need to know the truth. Valora turned to him. How? I am branded a sympathizer for claiming you. Your people call you a traitor. Who would listen to us? I don't know, Tay admitted. But we have to try. For everyone who died, for everyone still fighting. Their chance came unexpectedly. A neutral space station called Haven's Gate announced peace talks. Both human and Valorian governments agreed to send delegates, though nobody expected progress. Valora received orders to provide security for the Valorian delegation. Take me with you, Tay said. You would be arrested, Valora pointed out. Maybe, Tay said, or maybe seeing a human and Valorian together as family will make people think differently. Valora considered this. It is dangerous. For both of us. Everything worthwhile is dangerous, Tay replied. They arrived at Haven's Gate 3 weeks later. The station was massive, a neutral ground maintained by smaller species who refused to choose sides in the human-Valorian war. As Tay stepped off the Crimson Talon, he saw human ships docked nearby. His heart ached. He was so close to his own people, yet impossibly far. The peace talks were held in a grand hall. Human delegates sat on one side, Valorians on the other. The tension was thick enough to cut. Tay stood behind Valora with the other Valorian guards, wearing armor that Valora had commissioned for him. Human-sized but Valorian in design, the mark on his arm was visible to everyone. The human delegates saw him immediately. Whispers spread. Then one delegate, an older man named Wu, stood up. There is a human among the Valorian guards, he said loudly. A traitor. Remove him or we walk out. Valora rose to her full height. This man is Kethva. He is bound to my family by sacred law. He stays. He is a deserter, Wu insisted. He is a hero, Valora countered. He saved my daughter's life at the cost of his own. Your people declared him a traitor for showing compassion. What does that say about you? The argument escalated. The talks were about to collapse before they even began. Then the door burst open. Armed soldiers rushed in, but they weren't human or Valorian. They were mercenaries, hired guns. Nobody move, their leader shouted. Chaos erupted. The mercenaries opened fire. Delegates dove for cover. Tay's training kicked in. He grabbed Wu, the delegate who had called him a traitor, and pulled him behind a pillar as bullets flew. Stay down, Tay ordered. Valora and her warriors engaged the mercenaries. The fighting was brutal. Tay saw a mercenary aiming at Valora's back. Without thinking, he threw himself forward, tackling the man. They fought hand to hand. The mercenary was skilled, but Tay was desperate. He managed to disarm the man and knock him unconscious. When he turned, he found himself facing a human soldier. Not a mercenary. Someone from the human security detail. The woman's eyes widened. Tay? It was Nari, his childhood friend. They had grown up together, trained together. She had always been like a sister to him. And now she was pointing a weapon at him. Nari, Tay breathed. You abandoned us, she said, pain in her voice. You abandoned Jin's memory. You betrayed everyone. No, Tay said. I'm trying to honor Jin. He wanted peace. He wanted us to be better than this war. By joining them, Nari demanded. Before Tay could answer, an explosion rocked the station. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Nari was thrown backward, debris falling toward her. Tay ran and pulled her clear, shielding her with his body. When the dust settled, they were both alive but trapped under rubble. Why did you save me? Nari asked, coughing. Because you're my friend, Tay said. The war doesn't change that. They were pulled free by both human and Valorian soldiers working together in the emergency. As medical teams arrived, Tay saw something that made his heart stop. Valora was down. She had taken multiple hits protecting both human and Valorian delegates. Tay ran to her side. Valora! She was bleeding badly, her armor breached. Her breathing was shallow. Kiri, she whispered. If I die, protect her. You're not dying, Tay said firmly. He called for Hana, who had come with them.
Get me medical supplies, now!
Hana rushed over with equipment. They worked together, human and Valorian medicine combining to save Valora's life. Nari watched in shock. Other soldiers from both sides stopped fighting to help evacuate civilians. It took hours to stabilize Valora. When she finally opened her eyes, Tay was still beside her. She looked at him with something like wonder. You saved me, she said. You saved me first, Tay replied. Hana approached with a grim expression. The mercenaries were sent by Universal Arms. We found proof in their communications. The same corporation that profits from the war wanted to destroy the peace talks. Word spread quickly. Both human and Valorian governments were forced to acknowledge the truth. The war had been manipulated from the start. Public opinion began to shift on both sides. But for Tay, something else had shifted. He had saved Valora's life just as she had saved his. Among Valorians, this created a dual binding, a bond so deep that it had only one traditional resolution: life mates. Marriage. Valora explained this to him 3 days later, when she was recovered enough to speak privately. The dual binding is sacred. When two people save each other's lives, it means their fates are intertwined. It is considered a sign from the universe that they should be together. Tai's mind reeled. You mean, we're supposed to get married? By traditional law, yes, Valora said. But I do not expect you to accept. You have already given up so much. I will not ask you to give up your freedom too. Tay looked at her. Really looked at her. She was strong, honorable, fierce in protection of those she... The peace talks resumed 2 weeks later. This time, Tay stood at the center of it all, not as a soldier or a prisoner, but as a symbol, the human who chose family over war, the living proof that enemies could become loved ones. He gave his testimony before both delegations. He spoke about saving Kiri because she was a child, not despite being Valorian. He spoke about the weapons corporations that had manipulated both species into war. He spoke about his brother Jin, who had believed in peace until his last breath. And he spoke about Valora, who had honored him when she could have let him die. The human delegates were split. Some, like Wu, listened with open minds. Others called Tay a brainwashed traitor. But the evidence Hana had gathered was damning. Universal Arms had profited billions from the war. They had staged attacks on both sides. They had bribed politicians and suppressed peace movements. How many have died for their profit? Tay asked the assembly. How many more will die if we keep fighting? My brother is dead because someone wanted to make money. Don't let him have died for nothing. His words hit hard. That night, 3 human delegates privately approached Valora. They wanted to meet Kiri, to see the child that had started everything. Valora agreed cautiously. Tay watched as hardened politicians melted at the sight of a 6-year-old girl showing them her drawings. Kiri treated them like she treated everyone, with innocent trust. She asked them about Earth, about human children, about what games they played. By the end of the visit, all 3 delegates were smiling. She's just like our kids, one whispered to Tay. I have a daughter her age. When did I forget that they're just children too? Progress was slow, but it was happening. The talks shifted from accusations to actual negotiation. Ceasefire zones were established. Prisoner exchanges began, and through it all, Tay worked alongside Valora, showing both species that cooperation was possible. But not everyone wanted peace. Extremists on both sides saw the talks as betrayal. Threats came daily. Security was increased. Tay could feel the danger building like a storm. He was right to worry. It happened during a public ceremony. Both human and Valorian flags were being raised together for the first time, a symbolic gesture of unity. Tay stood with Valora and Kiri on the platform. Thousands watched, both in person and across broadcasts. The bomb went off without warning. The explosion threw Tay backward. His ears rang. Smoke and screams filled the air. Through the chaos, he heard Kiri crying. She was separated from them, surrounded by panicking crowds and falling debris. Tay ran. He didn't think, just moved. He pushed through the crowd, his training guiding him. He found Kiri cowering behind an overturned barrier, terrified but unhurt. He scooped her up and turned to run. That's when he saw them. 5 armed figures in masks pushing against the fleeing crowd. They were heading straight for Kiri. Extremists from which side he didn't know. It didn't matter. They wanted to kill her to destroy the peace. Tay looked around desperately. The security forces were scattered by the blast. Valora was somewhere in the smoke. He was alone with the child and 5 killers approaching. He set Kiri down behind cover. "Stay here. Don't move." "Tay, I'm scared," she whimpered. "I know, Star, but I've got you. I promise." He stepped out to meet the attackers. He was unarmed, still injured from previous fights and outnumbered, but he was a combat medic who had survived 3 years of war. He knew how to fight. The first attacker raised a weapon. Tay moved faster, closing the distance and disarming him with brutal efficiency. He used the weapon to shoot the second attacker in the leg. Non-lethal but disabling. The third came at him with a knife. They grappled. Tay took a cut across his ribs but managed to throw the man into the 4th attacker. The 5th pointed a weapon at Kiri. "Move and she dies." Tay froze. "She's just a child." "She's a symbol," the attacker said. His voice was human. "As long as she lives, people will believe in this peace. We can't allow that. Killing her won't stop peace," Tay said. "It will only prove why we need it. Then we'll kill you too, traitor." Before the attacker could fire, a shot rang out. The man fell. Tay turned to see Nari, weapon raised, running toward them. Behind her came Valora with a squad of both human and Valorian soldiers. "Secure the area," Valora commanded. Her forces moved as one, no longer divided by species. The remaining attackers were captured. Tay ran to Kiri and held her tight. She was crying into his shoulder. Valora reached them and wrapped her arms around them both. For a moment, they were just a family holding each other after nearly losing everything. Later, in the medical bay, Hana stitched the knife wound across Tai's ribs. "You need to stop getting hurt," she scolded. "You are running out of skin to scar." Tay laughed despite the pain. "I'll try." Valora entered, still in her battle armor. The attackers were extremists from both sides working together. They wanted to destroy the peace by killing Kiri. She sat down heavily. They almost succeeded, but they didn't, Tay said. And now everyone saw humans and Valorians working together to stop them. "That's powerful. You could have died," Valora said quietly. "Again, you keep putting yourself between death and my daughter." "That's what parents do," Tay said. The word slipped out before he could stop it. Parents. Was that what he was to Kiri? The thought felt right. Valora looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. "We need to talk. About the dual binding." Tay's heart raced. "Okay. Valorian tradition says we should become life mates," Valora began. "But I need to know something first. Do you feel obligated?" "Is this duty to you?" Tay thought carefully. "At first, maybe. The kethva, the claiming, the bond, it all felt forced." He looked at her directly. "But that's not what I feel now. When I'm with you, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. When you were injured, I was terrified. Not because of duty, because I care about you. But is it love?" Valora asked. "Or is it just everything we've been through?" "I don't know," Tay admitted. "I've never been in love before. How do you know the difference?" Valora smiled sadly. "I loved my mate. What I felt for him was certain, absolute. But we grew up together. We had time." She reached out and took Tay's hand. "We met during war. Everything has been crisis and chaos. Perhaps we need peace to know if this is real." "So what do?" Tay asked. "We wait," Valora said. "We let the dual binding exist without forcing a resolution. We see where our hearts lead us when we are not running from explosions." Tay squeezed her hand. "I can do that." Kiri burst into the medical bay, escaping from her own guard. She climbed onto the bed between them. "Are you staying?" she asked Tay. "Forever?" Tay looked at Valora, who looked back at him. "Yes," they said together. "Forever." The peace talks concluded a week later. A formal treaty was signed. The war wasn't over completely, but a path to end it had been found. Ceasefires were holding. Prisoner exchanges continued. Joint patrols began in disputed territories. Tay became an official liaison, working to build bridges between the species. Nari joined the program too, bringing other humans who believed in peace. Hana expanded her medical research, combining human and Valorian techniques. One evening, Tay stood on an observation deck watching both human and Valorian ships working together. Valora joined him, her presence warm beside him. "Strange, isn't it?" she said. "A few months ago, we were trying to kill each other. Now we are trying to build something together." "Do you think it will last?" Tay asked. "The peace? I think it will be difficult," Valora said honestly. "There is too much pain, too much history. But we have something now that we didn't have before." She turned to look at him. "We have proof that it's possible. You and Kiri, you and me. We are the proof," Tay smiled. "No pressure." "All the pressure," Valora corrected, but she was smiling too. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Tay thought about his brother Jin, about the soldier he used to be, about the man he was becoming. He had lost so much. His career, his reputation, his place in human society. But he had gained something too. A daughter in all but blood, a partner who challenged him. "A purpose bigger than war, Valora," he said quietly. "I think I'm starting to understand what love is." She turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting the starlight. "And what is it?" "It's this," Tay said. "Standing here with you. Protecting Kiri. Building something that matters. It's not just attraction or duty. It's choosing to be someone's family every single day." Valora reached out and touched the Kethva mark on his arm. "Yes," she whispered. "That is exactly what it is." She leaned down and kissed him gently. It was their first kiss. Soft and uncertain and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. "So," Tay said, "about that life mate thing, are you asking?" Valora raised an eyebrow. "I'm thinking about it." "Think faster," she teased. "I am a very desirable Valorian commander. I have other offers." Tay laughed. "I doubt that." "You would be surprised," Valora said. "But none of them saved my daughter. None of them changed the course of a war. None of them are you." "Give me time," Tay said. "Let me be sure. For both of us." "Take all the time you need," Valora said. "I told you. I can wait." But in her eyes, Tay saw the same thing he felt. They were already bound in every way that mattered. The ceremony, when it came, would just be making official what their hearts already knew. They were family. They were partners. They were forever claimed by each other. And in a universe torn by war, that was everything. 6 months had passed since the peace treaty was signed. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely. Joint human Valorian colonies were being established. Trade routes reopened. Families separated by war were reunited. It wasn't perfect. There were still incidents, still hatred, still those who wanted the fighting to continue. But the tide had turned toward peace. Tay worked from dawn until long past dark. As the chief liaison between humans and Valorians, his job was endless. Dispute resolution, cultural training, diplomatic meetings, crisis management. Every day brought new challenges. But he loved it. He was making a real difference, building bridges that would outlast him. He lived on the Crimson Talon still, though it was now stationed at a neutral port rather than prowling for battle. His quarters were next to Valora's, connected by a door that stayed unlocked. Some nights he slept alone. Other nights Kiri had nightmares and climbed into his bed. And sometimes late at night when the work was done, Valora would knock softly and they would talk for hours. They had grown closer in those 6 months. Slowly, carefully, like two people learning to trust, they ate meals together, trained together in the combat gym, attended diplomatic functions as a team, and sometimes when nobody was watching they would hold hands or steal kisses. But they hadn't made it official, hadn't performed the life mate ceremony. Tay still wasn't sure if what he felt was real, or just the intensity of everything they had been through. Then the message came from Earth. Tay was in his office when the communication arrived. It was from his parents. The first contact in 7 months. His hands shook as he opened it. "Tay," his mother's voice came through and he felt his chest tighten with emotion. "We know you probably don't want to hear from us. We said terrible things when you made your choice. We called you a traitor. We told you we had no son," his father's voice joined in. "We were wrong. We see that now. We've watched what you've done, how you've fought for peace, how you've protected that little girl, and we're so proud of you." Tears filled Tay's eyes. "We want to meet her," his mother continued. "Kiri, our granddaughter. If you'll let us. And we want to meet Commander Valora, too, the woman our son has chosen to build a life with." The message ended with coordinates for a neutral station and a date 2 weeks away. Tay sat in stunned silence. His parents wanted to meet Kiri. They called her their granddaughter. They knew about Valora. He went to find Valora immediately. She was in a strategy meeting, but he didn't care. He knocked and entered without waiting. Tay? Valora stood, concerned at his expression. What's wrong? My parents, he said. They want to meet Kiri. And you? Understanding dawned on Valora's face. She dismissed her officers and came to him. That is wonderful news. Why do you look so worried? Because it makes it real, Tay said. If they meet Kiri, if they accept her as family, then this isn't temporary anymore. This is my life. You are my life. And I'm scared I'm not ready for that. Valora took his hands. It has always been real, Tay. From the moment you ran into that fire to save my daughter, you have been part of our family since that day. The only question is whether you are ready to accept it fully. What if I fail? Tay asked. What if I'm not a good enough father for Kiri? What if I can't be the partner you need? Then we will fail together, Valora said simply, and try again. That is what family does. Tay pulled her close and held her tight. She was right. He had already made his choice 6 months ago. Everything since then had just been him accepting it. 2 weeks later, they arrived at the neutral station. Tay was more nervous than he had been before any battle. Kiri held his hand tightly, wearing a new dress that Hana had made for her. Valora stood tall beside them in formal robes. The door opened. Tay's parents stood there. His mother was older than he remembered, gray in her hair now. His father looked tired, but when they saw him, their faces lit up with joy. Tay, his mother whispered. She rushed forward and hugged him. His father joined them. Tay felt like a child again, safe in his parents' arms. When they pulled apart, his mother looked at Kiri. Is this her? Kiri hid behind Tay's leg, shy. Tay knelt down. Kiri, these are my parents. Your grandparents. Do they like me? Kiri whispered in Valorian. Tay's mother knelt too. We love you already, she said in perfect Valorian. She had learned it, Tay realized with shock. His mother had learned Valorian to speak to her granddaughter. Kiri's eyes went wide. Then she smiled and hugged Tay's mother. Just like that, the ice broke. Within minutes, Kiri was showing them her drawings and talking about her favorite foods and asking a million questions about Earth. Tay's father approached Valora. Commander, thank you for taking care of my son. He takes care of us, Valora corrected. Your son is remarkable. You raised him well. We almost lost him because we couldn't see past our fear, Tay's father said. I won't make that mistake again. They spent 3 days together. Tay's parents learned about Valorian culture. They played games with Kiri. They asked Valora about her late mate and honored his memory. And they talked to Tay about Jin. Your brother would be so proud, his mother said one evening. He always said you had the biggest heart of anyone he knew. He was right. On the last night, Tay's parents pulled him aside. Are you happy? His father asked. Tay thought about it. About Kiri's laughter. About Valora's strength. About the work he did every day to build peace. Yes, he said. I really am. Then that's all that matters, his mother said. When will you marry her? Tay blinked. What? Commander Valora, his mother said patiently. When will you marry her? We want to be there. I haven't asked her yet, Tay said. What are you waiting for? His father asked. You clearly love each other. Did he love Valora? Tay asked himself. He thought about how his day felt incomplete without seeing her. How he trusted her with his life. How he wanted to wake up next to her every morning and face whatever challenges came together. How when he thought about the future, she was always in it. I do love her, Tay said out loud, realizing it fully for the first time. I really do. Then tell her, his mother said. Life is too short for fear. That night after his parents left, Tay asked Valora to meet him in the observation deck. She came in her off-duty clothes, relaxed and beautiful. Your parents are wonderful, she said. Kiri adores them already. They adore her too, Tay said. He was nervous, his heart pounding. Valora, I need to tell you something. She turned to him, concerned. What is it? I love you, Tay said. The words felt right. I'm in love with you. I think I have been for a while, but I was too scared to admit it. But I'm not scared anymore. Valora's eyes widened. Then she smiled, bright and beautiful. I love you too. I have been waiting for you to realize it. How long have you known? Tay asked. Since you refused rescue to protect my daughter, Valora said. Since you chose us over your entire species. That was when I knew you were the one. Tay took her hands. The dual binding? The life-mate bond, I want it. Not because of tradition or law, but because I choose you. Every day for the rest of my life. Yes, Valora said immediately. Yes, I choose you too. They kissed, and this time there was no uncertainty. Only joy and love and certainty. They were home. The life-mate ceremony was held 1 month later. It was a blended ceremony, combining human and Valorian traditions. Tay's parents came. Nari came, bringing dozens of human officers who had become friends. Hana stood as Valora's witness. Kiri was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. When Tay and Valora spoke their vows, promising to protect each other and their family forever, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Human and Valorian alike cried tears of joy, but the greatest surprise came during the reception. A message arrived from both Earth and the Valorian homeworld. The governments had agreed to establish the first joint colony, and they wanted Tay and Valora to lead it. A symbol of what could be achieved when two species chose cooperation over conflict. What do you think? Tay asked Valora. I think we should do it, she said. Together. 3 months later, they stood on the surface of Epsilon 7. The moon that had once been a battlefield was being transformed. Humans and Valorians worked side by side, building homes and schools and hospitals, the first true mixed colony in history. Tay watched construction crews raise buildings while children of both species played together in designated safe zones. Kiri was among them, already making friends. She was learning to speak both languages fluently, comfortable in both cultures. She will never know the hate we knew, Valora said, standing beside him. None of these children will. They will grow up together. They will be the first generation of true peace. Do you think it will last? Tay asked. Really last? Yes, Valora said with certainty. Because of people like us. People who choose love over hate. Who choose family over fear. She was right. The colony thrived. Within a year, 3 more were established. Human and Valorian children attended school together. Mixed families became common. The war began to feel like a bad dream from the past. 5 years after that first colony, Tay stood in a new building, a memorial to all who had died in the war. Both human and Valorian names were inscribed on the walls, given equal honor. Jin's name was there. Valora's mate was there. Thousands of others who had fallen in a manufactured conflict. Kiri stood beside him now, 11 years old and wise beyond her years. Do you think about him? She asked.